You're muted, champ.
Unmuted. I'm supposed to be a pro at this. Wait, someone just who just joined me? Oh, I got two Breezes in here. What's up, Breezy?
Huh? Two of me?
I got two Breezes in here.
Great start.
Wait, what is going on here?
Well, we're gonna figure it out. Breezy, can you hear me all right?
He's muted.
Breezy, you're muted.
This is a disaster.
Oh my double.
All right. I
Go,
think we're
Gary.
good. All right. A little bit of
Take
technical
100.
difficulties. But we're back. I got a full panel here. I got Pete from Nets Fan, not Petey, just Pete. Just Pete from Nets Fans, I got John from Everything BK Nets, and I got Big Fan Breezy from his podcast, Big Fan Breezy. Guys, I'm going to go around. First, introduce yourself. Tell us where we can find you, and then just give me your thoughts real quick on yesterday's Dennis Schroeder trade. Pete, we'll start with you.
You can find me at NetFans on YouTube, on Twitter. Like Gary said, I'm the host of NetFans And man, I like the deal. Now that we know the picks involved, I like the deal. Didn't love that it was a 2025 second that we sent to Golden State, but whatever. I'm overall cool with the deal.
Pete, you want to give? I didn't even saw. You want to give us the rundown of what picks? What picks went where? What picks the Nets got, and what picks they gave up?
Sure. So the deal was Dennis Schroeder, and we own Miami's 2025 second round pick that went to Golden State. We got back DeAnthony Melton, who's on an expiring contract. He's out for the year. He's not going to wear a Nets uniform, most likely. Reese Beekman, who's a two-way player, point guard, 6'1", pretty much an all-defense type of guy, two-time defensive player of the year. And the second rounders that we got, a 2026 Atlanta second, 2028 Atlanta second, and a 2029 Golden State second.
So it's 26, 28, and 29, and not, yeah. Okay.
That's it.
All right. BK, John, I'll go to you next.
Whoa.
Whoa. That was insulting.
Well, after last night, especially.
Give me your thoughts. Give me your thoughts on the trade, and tell me where they can find you and what you've been up to.
Gary, Pete, and Big Fan Breezy, always fun to talk good basketball with you. To anybody who wants to talk fun basketball with me, especially Nets Daily, who now knows who I am. You can find me on my Twitter at OS91413John. I've done work on the BKNY Hoop Show. I've done work on Breezy's podcast, done work on Dylan's BK Network podcast, and Gary's Nothing But Nets, because I'm everything Brooklyn Nets John. And yeah, trade deadline season has begun, and it actually begun a day earlier for Brooklyn. The Dennis Schroeder deal, it had to happen. This guy was, for all intents and purposes, he was phenomenal. He was a leader on this team. He was the ringleader, head of the snake. He was a big reason why we won 10 games, and unfortunately, that was a disservice to our ultimate goal, so he had to go. And I know some people are looking at the value that we got robbed. We didn't get robbed. We actually made a great deal here. We got back draft capital. We got back free cap space to take it on Melton's contract. Like Pete said yesterday, we got a little bit under the tax line because Melton's contract's slightly cheaper than Dennis Schroeder's. And the ultimate goal we accomplished is now we have a chance to position ourselves for a top 3 draft pick. So if you guys just look at that, we actually did way more with this deal than most people are thinking about right now. So I'm glad that Sean Marks finally took his emotions out of it and did a cold-blooded GM move because it needed to happen. So if this is a sign of things to come, well, Brooklyn's going to be in a great position by next year's historic draft.
Breezy, give us a little commercial and give us your thoughts on yesterday's Schroeder trade.
All right. For one, I'll be in the chat here. Love the show. Otherwise, you could catch me on my show, Big Fan Breezy on YouTube, same handle on Twitter. And yeah, I thought that the trade was successful for both parties. I think it made the Golden State Warriors more of a contender. And I thought they did good business. I know that what you call him wasn't there, the one that did all the drafting with Curry, Clay, and Draymond, but he was tough. I wanted a first for Schroeder, to keep it all the way real with you.
But I could see how we got 3 seconds because it's no pressure for Sean Marks to get it first, whether it be this year or next year or whatever the draft picks that Atlanta had or Golden State have, because we got first already. You know what I'm saying? And if, based on trajectory, I think our trajectory is, and I heard this somewhere. I heard this, so I'm not saying it's true. But they saying that the same thing that the Golden State Warriors is doing is something we may potentially do next year, and re-sign once his contract is up, get Schroeder to come back, maybe be coming off the bench or with Dylan Harper at some capacity. Now, I'm not saying we get in Dylan Harper. I'm just saying I'm glad we made the trade to give us hope that we can get Dylan Harper. That's ultimately what I want to happen, and that's because I feel like Jordy Fernandez sees the game. He sees basketball through a point guard eyes, and you can see that with Schroeder being an extension of Jordy Fernandez. When you watch the game, he was easily a floor general, very vocal, and I think Jordy Fernandez, for his recipe of success or to win a championship, he's going to put a lot of trust inside of the point guard. So to answer your question, Gary, I thought it was a successful trade, and I see Sean Marks is on his year of redemption. He's trying to redeem himself. You know, he got it. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily the best name out here with the fans, but he's making strides, going the right way. So I was happy with the trade, Gary.
Let me start the next question with you, Breezy, because let me go in reverse order here. Schroeder's gone. There's other veterans, Cam Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith, namely, but there's Bogdanovich, there's Ben Simmons, there's other guys who maybe could be traded. Who do you think is going to be traded next, or do you think that's it? The Nets are done.
No, I think it's going to be DFS. I think our ace in the hole, for lack of better words, is Cam Johnson. He's one of the him and Schroeder was pretty much contributed a lot to winning. But to answer your question, I think it's going to be DFS. And that's because DFS seemed like, you know what I'm saying, he's here, but I don't think he's tapped in the same way Cam Johnson is. Cam Johnson really seeming to sing. Honestly, I think, you know what I mean, he got a girl out here. He might have seeded something up, you know what I'm saying? He might have one on the way, you know what I mean? I just think that Cam Johnson look a little more comfortable out here, and DFS is known for a better defender than offensive player. So I think a playoff team, a contending team, they looking at DFS, looking at his contract. No, he's on an expiring deal, and because he's on an expiring deal, I think it interests them more than a Cam Johnson would, because the upside of DFS defense, he pretty much could cover any three and some fours. You don't really want to see him play the five, but going into the playoffs with him having experience with Dallas, more so with Dallas than Brooklyn, there's visibility of him playing well in the playoffs. So I think DFS is the next trade for the Brooklyn Nets.
John, let me get to you. Same question. Who's going to be the next net traded, or is that it? Are they done for the season?
Gary, business has just picked up. It's just starting, so get ready. I mean, I agree with Breezy. I think Doe is the next logical piece to get traded. Defensively, his value's been good this year, and he's been shooting the three from 40%. So I'm looking at teams that really could use his three-point shooting. You know, it's definitely a market of teams that are going to want him. It's just what type of price value. I look at something like an expiring salary and multiple seconds, or if Sean Marks can finagle himself a certain way, maybe you can get a light prospect that a team isn't using with expiring salary and some seconds. I think that would kind of be close to what Marks could get at this point. I don't think there's any first round draft picks for Doe, but if you get a little combination of stuff like that, I think Marks will be okay with that, making a deal like that. And then Johnson, listen, I think Johnson's market is
hang on. I want to get to that in just a minute. I want to get to what we might expect from these guys in just a minute. So you're saying you're agreeing that you think Doe is next, right? That's what you think?
Yeah, because of the defensive potential, the three-point shooting, I think a team is really going to make a deal for him pretty soon. Especially, I don't think they'll wait till the deadline with Doe, because I think the value will go down. I think your best bet's to get something done now, like you did with Dennis, and move forward.
Let me put the same question to Pete. You going to agree? Do you agree that the Nets, it's Dorian Finney-Smith next, or do you think Marks is done, or is it somebody else that's going to be traded next?
Dorian Finney-Smith as a player option for next season. I don't think he's going to opt in, so he probably will be an expiring deal. He is most likely the next guy maybe even the last possible deal the Nets might pull. I don't think there's any scenario that we'll see that he's not traded. Whether you get a 3-team deal or 2-team deal, he's definitely got to go. The Nets got to cash in, and whatever they can get, they can get.
I want to put one more question here to ask the rest of the panel because I know you've got a little bit of information on him. Reese Beekman. I don't know much about him. I know he's a defensive-minded point guard who went to Virginia, put up decent numbers at Virginia. I haven't gotten to watch any tape on him yet, but I'm going to do that and put a video on him. What are your initial thoughts on Reese Beekman, and would you expect him to be on in the rotation at any time, in the foreseeable future?
He's got to learn the offense. I from what I've been told, he's jumped Killian Hayes and Amari Bailey already, which kind of makes sense because let's face it, he is a two-way. The other guys are in Long Island, so they don't have a roster spot. You'd have to make a roster move to either sign them or get a two-way in there. So the easiest way as far as roster construction right now is having Beekman up. They don't have a point guard besides Ben, really. Not a lot of ball handlers. It wouldn't surprise me if he starts getting minutes. They like him a lot, even though he is smaller than what Sean Marks usually goes for in a point guard. To kind of give a little quick rundown of him, not a great shooter in college, two-time All ACC Defensive Player of the Year, 4-year starter at Virginia. He averaged 14 points his senior year. Not a big scorer, not a great shooter. I haven't seen his stats in the G League, but supposedly he's doing very, very well. And I would not be shocked to see him get some rotation minutes somewhere down the line for sure.
You know who else has played really well in the G League? Amari Bailey. I got to once every show. I got to mention Amari Bailey at least once a show. I appreciate that, Pete. Thanks for the insight on Beekman. Anyone else, guys? Breezy, John, you guys have any thoughts on Beekman?
Yeah,
kind of
I got a thought. We are in the Reese Beekman era. Listen, if this guy is responsible for us getting an Ace Bailey or Dylan Harper, put his name in the rafters. No, but to what Pete said, he's a fresh canvas. Obviously, he has a lot to improve on, but I think what's so great about this team right now is you have a great head coach, you have a great coaching staff that prioritizes development and improving on your weaknesses. So, like Pete says, if he gets minutes, I definitely would like to see him improve and follow what these other guys are doing on the team, which is getting better at their weaknesses. So I think this kid has a lot of potential. It's just, will he get the minutes, and when will he get the minutes? And I think we might see that sometime this season once the vets are traded, of course. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what this kid can bring. I would also say there was a contingency move because Jackie Q, sadly, he tore his ACL and they had to waive him today. So if they did that move in mind to get that two-way player over here, I can understand that. And I feel bad for Jackie. I feel like the base really was enjoying his energy and his personality, and it's just sad that we didn't get to see him play more in the G League or possibly play in the league up here. So thoughts and wishes and good luck on his next steps as he recovers.
By the way, Gary, let me just cut in very quickly with this. I just want to make a point that a lot of people may not know. If you get hurt playing for a team, the team is responsible to get you right. He's still going to be in the building. He's still going to be around the team. He's not going to be on the roster, but he's going to be probably rehabbing with the Nets. So he's still going to be around. It's not totally gone. I would not be shocked to see him sign another two-way deal with the Nets next year. That would, especially when you have the games in China, would not be shocked at all.
Interesting.
I want to, Jackie Sway is out. And we're going with Jackie Sway. That's what we're going with, right? That's how we're pronouncing his name?
Yeah, I think that's how it's pronounced.
All
I
right.
hope.
All right, that's good. He's out for the season. Pete, you want to give us an update on the injury? It was Achilles, correct? It was an ACL. It was an ACL.
No,
ACL injury. He's done for the season. He was released just a couple of hours ago. The news came out that he was the one. He was the one on the chopping block, as the Nets need to open up another roster spot. Let me get to this next thing. You guys all said DFS was going to be the next one that was going to be traded. Let me start with Pete again. Is Cam Johnson going to join him, or is Cam Johnson going to finish at least this season on the Nets?
I've been pushing for a CJ trade all year. I don't think it happens. I think he's most likely moved in the offseason when teams have more draft capital, more cap room. Other guys might be eligible. Other guys might be eligible to be traded. I would look for something maybe then. I think he finishes the year with the Nets.
All right, John. Let me get the Breezy first. Breezy, is Cam Johnson going to finish the season with the Nets, or is he going to be gone?
I'm gonna say he comfortable, man. I don't think they want to trade him. I think Cam Johnson getting a lot of love in Brooklyn, and I don't want to be long winded with a soliloquy right now. I see the panel just got bigger, but yeah, Cam Johnson, he's somebody that I see the player develop happening to him immediately. He player developed to being I won't say a entire shot creator, but there has been some shot creating things I've seen about Cam Johnson, and I think he liked the gist of it. I seen one time he hit a 3-pointer, and I think the 3-pointer he hit got us back into the game. And I looked in his face, and his face looked like, yo, I want to be a Brooklyn Nets. Like, I don't want to get traded. And anytime you hear about trades in the post game interview with Cam Johnson, every question that he had, he was like, nah, I'm not with it. We block out the noise and this and that. So honestly, I think they find a way to keep Cam Johnson. Yeah, I think he stays. I think DFS is gone, but I think Cam Johnson stays.
BK. Oh, we got Pod Thorn. Look at, we got a full panel now. The whole troop is here. Pod, BK. Let me get to you guys next.
What's up, Pod?
What up, everybody?
Hey, Pod.
Yeah, I would say.
What up,
You guys hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
BK, go ahead. We got you.
All right, yeah, I would say DFS is gone, and I would keep Cam Johnson. I don't want to tear down the whole roster. I said this last night on my show, and because you don't know if you're going to get a 1 through 3 pick. We don't know. It's not cemented in stone just yet. So you look stupid if you get a 9th pick and you get a role player, and now you got a bunch of young guys, and you'll be the Detroit Pistons for years, and then in 2026. You want to get one shot, one crack at it, man. And again, you're not guaranteed AJ DeMonster or what's his name, Cameron Boozer, or the other kid, Darren Peterson. You're not guaranteed any of those guys. So I would say this is slow, methodical. If you get a replacement player for Cam Johnson, then fine. But like some of these veterans, I want to keep them. You don't got to play them in the 4th quarter or like mid-4th. And like I said before, Jody Fernandez can't understand that. Fire his ass. If he can't understand the big picture and getting talent, this is the only way to really do it, then fire his ass.
All right, BK, we can't go full-fledged crazy here, all right? We got to wheel it in a little bit. Jordy Fernandez is the best thing that's happened in this franchise since...
Man, we don't know that yet, man. Well, he hasn't done anything yet, Gary. He
Somebody
hasn't done anything yet.
Shine away from BK, please. He's still on from last night.
Who was going up? The Pod, that was you?
I was going to go next.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Pod. Go ahead.
Yo, listen, both those guys is out of here. DFS and Cam Johnson. If they're not traded, something went wrong. If one of the two aren't traded, something went wrong.
Yeah, that happens with Pod Thor sometimes. He'll come in when he's ready.
You don't hear me?
No, we got you. I got you.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay,
No, I'm saying sometimes when he comes on my show, like he's muted for a while. He may be doing something.
I don't think you can hear me.
And then he'll come in. He'll talk when he's ready to talk.
BK, I think you're having some problems because he's talking. We
can hear him. Yeah.
Oh, hold on. Shit.
Yo, so
y'all guys can hear me?
We can hear everybody. We can hear Pod. We can hear you. We can hear everybody. Yeah. I think you just can't hear Pod for some reason.
Okay, that's fine. All right.
Well,
yeah, Pod.
I'll finish it off with saying like this: if those guys aren't gone, something went wrong. They're not in we're not Detroit. What happened to Detroit will never happen to the Nets because why? We play in New York. Players want to come play here. Look at how many rumors. Every time there's a rumor, there's a player. A player puts us on the list, and the difference now is we'll be ready if we have a foundation of players of young players that make up what is the Brooklyn Nets.
Preach.
Then you add the superstars. Then you add the other players, and by the time we do all that, guys like Cam Johnson and DFS have aged themselves out. There's no way you build with those guys in mind. You move forward. You
Fouls.
get them out of here. You get as much draft capital as you can, and you move forward from there. Simple.
Pot, let me ask you this. Cam Johnson, you think he's out? I think he's going to be traded too. I want to go around the panel and get an answer to this, but what do you think? Yeah, what do you think we're going to get? Like, what do you think, like, the value? Is it one first rounder? Is it two first rounders? Is it one and a salary dump? What do you think we get for Cam Johnson?
Like, it's so crazy because in my biased Nets fan mind, I'm thinking you got to get 2 picks for him. He's easily the hottest commodity on the trade market right now. And even the other trades are being held up from happening because people are waiting to see what happens with Cam Johnson. The 3 teams in the West need him. You got OKC, who's 19th in shooting, and everybody I'm about to say after OKC is lower. Houston, who needs a wing shooter, and who am I missing? Memphis needs a wing shooter. They all got different kind of assets. They all have a lot of draft capital, so it makes sense that a deal can be done with any of them. Now with OKC, it's a little tricky with the cap hit, but
It's
Nets
a lot
have
trickier. It's a lot trickier, Pod.
they have with them being able to match salaries, but the Nets have a $23 million
Trade exception.
trade exception. And I don't know how the rules of applying it and using it, but they have a $23 million trade exception. They could get picks and use that trade exception and not take anything back. Now, that's fantasy Nets fan bias going there, but I think that's the top thing you could get. You can get a couple of those draft picks that OKC is sitting on. They have Phillies protected first, I believe, and they also have the Clippers first unprotected, even though they're doing much better. Like either one of them can implode at any time. If you could get one of those 2 picks, or maybe you could get something like a Cam Whitmore out of Houston, there's deals to be done for Cam Johnson that puts us in a nice position. Either gives us more lottery balls for next year, or gives us a young player that could be a part of this rebuild. And Houston's not even playing Cam. So
Wait, hold on, guys. Cam Johnson gives us more productivity than Cam Whitmore, man, right now.
Nobody
Who's got
cares.
better potential, BK? Who's got better potential?
Let me address that.
You
Let me
understand,
address that,
BK?
though. Let me address that.
They don't care about the productivity. Don't care.
Cam Whitmore is 20. You're in a tank season, and you want to tank, BK. So you got a 20-year-old.
He's not guaranteed. He's not guaranteed.
Let me ask my question, BK. Let me ask my question. You got a 20-year-old in a tank season who makes pennies on the dollar of what Cam Johnson makes. Explain to me why, at this point, with tanking as your priority and rebuilding as your priority, why would you rather have Cam Johnson than Cam
Explain
Whitmore?
to me why they're not playing him and why he got sent to the G League.
Oh my God!
Because they've had 2 draft picks in the last 3 or 4 drafts, and they've got this team full of young players that they don't even have a place for a young up and coming player.
That means he's not better than those guys. Then if he was better than those guys, he would be playing more.
Yeah, okay.
Playing over them.
Let me get to Pete. Pete, the value of Cam Johnson. How do you assess the value of Cam Johnson in the free market? I think he's going to have more value because right now the trade market is Jimmy Butler, who's 100 years old and a rental on an expiring deal, and Cam Johnson. There's not a lot of inventory on the shelf, so I think Cam Johnson's at his peak value right now. What are your thoughts on his value?
I think you're absolutely right with the whole peak value thing. I think Pod made a great point with a couple of those teams. I really do not see OKC unless they get a 3rd team involved, but I could really see a matchup with Houston in particular, because I believe you could send back. I did a deal. You could get Steven Adams and Jeff Green. They're both on expirings. If you want draft capital, the whole Cam Whitmore thing, that's another conversation. But if you're focusing on expiring and picks, there's a very easy deal to be done there. His value, I want to say 2 first. I feel like I might be a little biased with that. So if I'm gonna ground myself and keep it low, you know what I mean, and try to keep it a little realistic, maybe a first and 2 seconds. Although I can see 2 firsts very easily. It depends what team it's from and what year, really.
Let me get to Breezy because I haven't heard from Breezy. Let me ask you this question: would you rather have a
Gary.
young?
Somebody's
Um,
echoing.
So I don't know if that's me or not, but Gary,
All right,
there's an
listen, I'm
important thing
gonna
that
go.
gotta add to that.
If you guys are still on in a half an hour, I'll come back on. I gotta get back to work. So
We'll be on.
my next break is in like half an hour. So if you guys are still on, I'll be back on in like about 30 minutes.
Jump on whenever you can, BK.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yep.
Let me bring
Try
it
to
over to
keep on
Breezy
it.
because I know Breezy's on a time thing too. Breezy, what do you expect to get for Cam Johnson? I know you think he's going to stay, but if you were to trade him, what kind of value do you think you get from him? And would you rather have a pick or would you rather have a young upstart player who's unproven like Cam Whitmore?
I'd rather have a pick. I'm basing my what I'm saying is contingent on what PT said. I think that I won't say Chat GPT. That's kind of a low blow. But the front offices, the franchises, they do look at the analytics, and what he says sticks out like a sore thumb. If they that bad in shooting, you look at somebody like Cam Johnson. Houston going to look at him. We already did business with Houston. We got our picks back, minus Reed and I think Eason. Case in point is Houston seems like the logical choice. And we got the advantage in the situation. You don't want to be a team like Houston. And I think they are not at a disadvantage, but that whole Harden
They
thing,
are.
I think probably. I was trying to be kind about it, but that whole thing with Harden and them having all of those playoff runs, but never winning the championship, and then having a situation where, you know what I mean, they did win it with Akeem Olajuwon. I think they look at Sagoon, and I think they look at the players around Sagoon, and they say, all right, this is part of the women's winning formula. And you think about Houston, and you know what I'm saying, what they had around Akeem Olajuwon, I can't really necessarily think of the shooter that was around Olajuwon as a small forward, but I do think they got eyes on Cam Johnson, like seriously, because of what PT said. Them being that poor in shooting, Sagoon being that young, they don't want to send somebody in like Sagoon in the playoffs and he getting double, triple, kind of like Atlanta did to Randall, and it stifles to the Knicks that season, and it stifles them. I think they want to make sure that Sagoon is getting one-on-one matchups, and you can do that if you got somebody like Cam Johnson on your team. So if we got that advantage in retrading Cam Johnson, I'm not going to say no to Cam Whitmore, but I need more than Cam Whitmore. You got to give me Cam Whitmore in a first. And with Cam Johnson, I'm not negotiating. I need one first. Even if it's, I don't necessarily want to say what it has to be. Even if I'm going to take those picks that Pete said earlier, take those 3 top 2 picks, them 3 second-round picks, Cam Johnson, put that part of the trade. Y'all can have these 3 second-rounders. We'll give you that, Cam Johnson, for a first-round pick. I think.
Oh, we get more than that, Breezy. We need more than that.
You need more than that?
Cam Whitmore on a first-round pick, I would take that right now. Sign seal. I think Cam Whitmore is better than Cam Johnson. Like, so anything else, now you're just sweetening the deal. But John, let me get to you. I want to get to you too, John. If Cam Johnson isn't traded by the deadline, is that an unmitigated failure by Sean Marks in not moving Cam Johnson?
Wow, there is so many interesting things, but you guys have touched on so many subjects with Cam Johnson. Let's talk about this first thing, like Pete and Breezy was saying about Johnson. You know, he's really enjoyed his time in Brooklyn. The Nets could choose to keep him if they feel like there's an offer that isn't like an outbid offer for them. They could wait a year if there's a bigger deal they want to catch him down the line. I would say this about Johnson. He's done a magnificent job of covering all of his bases. The fan base likes him because he says he's loyal. He wants to be part of this, yada, yada. And then the NBA teams look at Johnson for his scoring and the fact that he's improved on his weaknesses. People say he's just a 3-point scorer. This season, he's got it to his offensive bag a lot more, and he's improved a little bit, slightly on defense, not a whole lot, but he's shown you that he can work on expanding his game. So like you said, Gary, he's at peak value right now, and I don't think you have another chance to cash in and get close to a decent mini haul for Johnson than you would 2 years down the line. So if Marks doesn't trade him, I will be a little disappointed, but if there's a bigger plan down the line, I'll hold my breath on that and see what happens there. But this is the best time to trade him. There is a market for him. You look at teams like you guys are talking about. OKC, they're in a winning position. They have basically cheated the new CBA system before it even began. They have 15 first-round draft picks, and they have a stacked team. You're looking at one piece left if they want to potentially win a title. Cam Johnson's your guy. He's an excellent three-point shooter. And I know Pete said you might have to get a third team to make the finances work, but they have the draft capital and a prospect in Nikola Topic to make an overwhelming offer if they want to outbeat Memphis,
Topic is not being moved
Lakers.
in that deal.
No, it's probably not. It's probably not. But if we talk about just draft capital, OKC can outbid all these teams right now. And if they want to win a title while also having 15 first-round draft picks, they're in a power play position. By even looking at a team like the Magics, they have Paolo and Franz both on the injury list. They have torn oblique injuries. You don't know how long that's going to take. And you look at Johnson, what he can do. He could be a plug-and-pull player for them right now. And they have Howard and a 2025 Nuggets first. I also heard they have the 26 pick as well. And if the Nets are thinking about 2026 draft, that could be an offer that could be good too. And Houston, expiring salaries galore they have. I don't know if they would give us Cam Whitmore, though, but they have expiring salary in our 2027 swap.
I want to bring Pod in real quick. Let me bring Pod in real quick because I want to Cam Whitmore and a 1 and figure out the salaries. Would you be okay with that, Pod? Because
Yeah.
you had a reaction to Cam Whitmore. What are your thoughts on that potential trade?
Yeah, I do it in a heartbeat. I'm sorry. I think you could get more, but if they offered that, I'd run to the league office with that trade package.
I'm 100% with you on that. Pete, you think Cam Johnson's going to be here for the rest of the season? So if that trade was presented to you, Cam Whitmore, a 1, would you take the trade? Not do you think the Nets would take it? If I gave you Sean Marks' job for the day, would you accept that trade?
I need a second thrown in there. I need
Okay.
a 1, a 2, and Cam Whitmore. I'm being
Let
a
me
little.
look at it.
We got a little
Let me-
leverage here.
I love it. That Italian is coming out of you. I need a little bit better deal. I love
I ain't
that.
mad at it.
I'll give you Memphis's 2027 second. Now we have a deal.
Yeah, I would do it.
Okay.
Let's go.
So we're all on board. Breezy, you're on board with that too. Whitmore and a 1.
Yep.
I think
I'm trying to get two. I want two lottery picks for next season, 2025 draft. I mean, they forgot, for crying out loud, Gary. They have the draft at the Barclays. You know what I'm saying? We got our draft picks. I want us to shine, man. I'm trying to see us shine.
They might call us like a few times. We got to be deep at the draft.
Yo, I'm gonna be there. If I can't be there, I'm doing the draft party, but I might be in the building.
Yo, I'm supposed to be traveling at that time. I'm trying to change dates just to make sure I'm in town to go, because we might have I mean, right now we have 4 picks in the first round.
I wasn't planning on
catastrophic
going there, but it is at the Barclays. I might have to come down to New York for this. You guys gonna show out for the draft?
Yeah,
man. I'm walking distance from the Barclays at work. Like right now, I could walk to the Barclays. I did a few lives in front of the Barclays when it's nicer. It's cold out here, Gary. I'm not going to go there right now, but I think I am going to the game. Kenny Atkinson first game back. I think he's you know what I'm saying? No, is it his first game back? Did he come back yet to Cleveland? Did we play Cleveland yet?
No, we went to Cleveland. We went to Cleveland.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
we've been to Cleveland.
Yeah, I'm really close, and I'll be getting. I might, if I got some kind of exclusive, you know what I'm saying, access. Y'all gonna be the first to know. Trust me.
Appreciate you, Breezy. I want to get to a guy that hasn't been talked about a lot in trades, but who I think should be traded. I think there's a market for him. Pete, I'll start with you. Claxton, I think, has value in the league, but I think he's grotesquely overpaid for what he offers you. I think you could move him. I think there are good teams that would value what he offers you defensively as a pick and roll defender, as a switch defender, and as a shot blocker. I think you could move him. and I would like to play Day'Ron Sharpe, those starters minutes at the 5. What are your thoughts on the tradability of Nick Claxton? And he's on a brand new deal. Is it realistic?
Man, I'm not even sure. I'm sure there are people who value him. You look around the league, though, there's not a lot of needs for a center right now. I'd say maybe a year or two down the line, that would be a lot more realistic, but he's still young, and I think he's finally not hurt, and we're starting to see him play a little bit better. You see he had a couple games ago. I remember he had some good numbers. I think we put a pin on this and come back to it maybe in the offseason, maybe a year from now.
Pod, your thoughts on trading Claxton? Would you want to trade him, A, and do you think there's a market for him?
No, he's not our center for the future. So the sooner you trade him, the better. I just don't think they can trade him. I think he makes too much. And I don't even see who would value him. It could have been done when Memphis wanted him, but now that they've drafted Zach Edey, I just don't see. I don't see where the pairing is.
There was a
OKC
market
liked
for
him
him
a lot, by the way, guys.
OKC liked him. Dallas wanted to give us Lively for him, and Sean Marks being an idiot didn't make
Wild.
the trade.
Wild.
There was a market for him. I mean, that was on his last deal. Now he's making $25 million a year, and that's going to be a little bit prohibitive. John, your thoughts, Claxton. I know you like Claxton about as much as I do. I mean, you don't hate him, but
This is what's important right now. I feel like Sean Marks is going to have to choose between Day'Ron Sharpe and Claxton. Keeping them both together doesn't seem optimal for our future right now. And you look at Day'Ron Sharpe, he gives you rebounding. He's worked on his game. He's not afraid to take 3-point shots. I would say that Day'Ron has actually worked a lot more on his game than Claxton has. But Claxton, you know what you're going to get. Shot blocking, rebounding. His rebounding has been his best asset this season. He's like 30th in rebounding. Offensively, I know he had 3 recent good games, but then he had a bad, crappy game against the Grizzlies. And injury or not, Claxton just hasn't worked on expanding his game. And you wonder if there's a market for him. I look at the Lakers right now. Listen, the Lakers have done abysmal. Anthony Davis wanted to be a power forward, and them having Christian Wood and Jackson Hayes has been egregious on their part. I know they look at Nikola Vucic, Jonas Valanciunas, Rob Williams. All 3 of those guys don't defend as well as Nick Claxton does right now. You put him next to Davis, you're not a championship team, but you're a contending team that has a fighter's chance. And they have expiring salary and some draft picks. And if they're willing to actually do business and not be stingy with Brooklyn, that's probably a perfect outlet to get rid of Claxton. I know Pod just said they already got Zach Edey in Memphis, but who is John Morant's number 1 if he had a choice? It definitely isn't Zach Edey. It would be Claxton if they were willing to make something work. And I'll throw in the Pelicans as honorable mention, maybe in the offseason, like Pete and Potter's saying, because they don't have a center right now. They got Daniel Tice and Trey Murphy, that's not a center group right there at all. So I look at those 3 teams as having interest in Claxton in the future, and I would say Claxton is a surprise trade deadline special if Sean Marks has an offer on the table from a team that's potentially close to what he'd want for him. So I do hope we do it, because you could re-sign Day'Ron to a cheaper deal, draft a center in the 2025 draft, Derek Queen, Common Maliak, if an opportunity presents itself, and you move forward there. I think we have a chance to reset our censorship if we get rid of Claxton for the right offer this season. I just feel like the timing would be good, and it just seems like Claxton doesn't want to be there. I mean, you see in his body language, he let Coach Jordy get verbally destroyed by John Morant, and he didn't lift a finger, and the guy that did was the guy who got traded, Dennis Schroeder. So I think you've seen that Claxton wants his money. He got his money, but he hasn't really shown much effort in trying to maintain that he's a top guy in this league. Dyson Daniels is a better defender than him this season, and I think Claxton should look himself in the mirror for that one.
John, when did you hang out? No, John, when did you hang out with Clax that you know that he's not working out or doing anything?
Have you seen what he's done this season? He had 2 points against the Celtics back-to-back games. That's nothing. And that was against Nemanja Fuentes, a third-string center, Pete. Are you kidding me? You're fine with that from Claxton? I bet you a G League center would have given a better fight that night.
Works out. You don't know if he works out.
He's 225 pounds. You know that Noah Clowney in his first year developed 20 pounds of muscle in his first year. Claxton's got up to 230 in 5 years.
Nothing, bro. He's eating cake.
Oh my gosh, Pete, of course not. Of course, he's a vegan, right? He's a fashion model. But listen, you need a center that's more bulkier.
Is Nick Claxton a vegan?
Who knows? He could be a certain weight.
Yo, Gary. Yeah, Gary, we looked this up the other day, bro. Claxton gained 2 pounds since he joined the league, bro.
Wow, 2 pounds. Yo, Pete,
Breezy,
shout out to
I
you on that
haven't
one,
gotten
man.
your thoughts. I
He
haven't
really
gotten your
gained
thoughts.
only 2 pounds. So if I find a picture from rookie year and I'm gonna take a picture from this year, you guys are gonna tell me he looks exactly the same, right?
Pete,
Exactly
he's been
the
getting
same? No, he
bodied
don't.
by
He doesn't
Jimmy
look
Centers
exactly
in
the
the
same.
past.
Guys, he works out. Do I think he's the center of the future? No. Do I think that I'd like to see Dayron more? Yes. But the fact you're saying that he doesn't care is wild.
Did you see the emotional
Wait,
ejections when he
hang on.
clotheslined Dyson
I
Daniels
want to get.
before the referee in the Magic game?
Hang on, Pete. What element of his game? He's been in the league 5 years. This is year 5, right? So 4+ years. What element of his game has he improved? And I want to get Breezy's thoughts, but answer that like, what has he improved on? What has he improved in the 4+ years he's been in the NBA?
He's not a center. You're asking a small forward to play center and say, how come you're not rebounding? How come you're not doing this? He's not a center.
Then why has he worked on his game, Pete, if he's a power forward? Because if you're a power forward, you have to be like a Pascal Siakam to have a game like that then. He's not Pascal Siakam.
They give him workout schedules. In the off, they don't just go and just free ball it and freestyle it. They're given workout programs. They're giving stuff that they have to eat. Everything is a regimen. Everything is written down. Everything is detailed. I'm not saying maybe he doesn't have the talent, but the fact that he's not trying, you could say that he sucks. That's fair. Is he overpaid? Probably. Is he the center of the future? No.
Let me get to Breezy.
Not done anything.
I haven't gotten to Breezy, and I know he's on a time thing. Breezy, your thoughts on moving Claxton? Would you be in favor of moving him? And do you think there's a market out there? Are there teams out there that would be interested in him like last year?
Yeah. I think his contract is, may shy teams away. But that being said, I think there's a market for him. It would have to be a dominant point guard, a point guard that like the PNR. And I think there's a lot of successful franchises that run a lot of PNR. I think we do a lot of drive and kick. You see that with Schroeder. Case in point is I haven't seen a lot of PNR for Claxton since the beginning of this season, and I think that's pretty much the way Jordy likes to play the game. And as much as I like Claxton, I feel like his head is not in the game if he don't get enough touches on the ball. But he don't get a lot of touches because he can't hit a midi. You know what I'm saying? I think that shit hampers his game a lot because the way we run the offense, he'll get the ball like around a dotted or this free throw line, and he never takes that shot. He'll look for the pass. He'll try to put the ball on the floor, get closer to the basket, maybe a baby hook. But the fact that he's not taking that midi and being efficient at the midi, I don't know how comfortable he is here because they letting Clowney letting it fly. There's no reason why Clowney should be taking more shots than Claxton, but he is. Clowney he getting straight to the 3-point line and he letting it go, and he knocking them down. You know what I'm saying? So I think Claxton is expendable because of Clowney. I don't want to pit him against Clowney or Sharp because, I've seen them play on the floor together and they were good. But going into the draft, seeing, the contract with Clax, and again, I think his head be out of the game when he don't get a lot of touches. They kind of, want him to start on the defensive and then get to the offensive end. I just feel like he did that a lot of part of his career, and he just kind of tired of it. I think he want to be somewhere where he can run the PNR way more than he does with the Brooklyn Nets. So if I had to, answer the question directly, I would say get what you can for Clax. You know what I'm saying? Keep Sharp, keep Clowney. And and just so y'all know, I was an avid fan of keeping Clax, but I'm an avid fan of morale too. I want a player that wants to be here, and I don't want to say that he don't want to be here, but he do want to be somewhere where the offense is run more of a PNR. He needs a PNR to be successful in the offense. And if the Brooklyn Nets is not doing, the Brooklyn Nets and the Clax are better off. You know what I'm saying? Just going their separate ways. So I would take a first. You gotta give me a first for Claxton. I absolutely need a first for Claxton. That's a fact.
I would agree.
But guys, how can we trade him if he's not working on his game? He hasn't gotten any better game
You
anyway.
know what
So
he
why
can
would
give you on
anybody want him,
defense.
right?
Wait, Pete. You know what he can give
I-
you on defense. Great shot blocker, great rebounder. Put that on a different team that needs him right now, like a Lakers team. We don't need that right now. We need offensive
He doesn't work on his
development,
game,
my
John. So there's
guys.
no point. Why would anybody want him?
Wait, Pete, can I address
Because
that?
he's a
Like,
shot blocker and a rebounder. He's still got some type of value.
no one is saying he's trash. He's not trash. He has value.
I'm not even
He does-
arguing that. I'm just saying that the dude doesn't work on his game.
I'm not going to say he sits in the offseason, right, and does nothing. I'm saying that he's 5 years into the league now. This is year 5. He doesn't have a one-handed push shot. He doesn't have a baby hook shot. He doesn't
And
have
Ben
any
can't hit a
post moves. He
three
doesn't have
either.
any- What was that?
Ben can't hit a 3 either. But I
Why
see
don't we
every
let Ben
time I see it,
Simmons?
every time I go on Twitter, I see him shooting threes. Not the best example, but the point is that he does. I do think these guys try, and that's all the point I'm making. I agree that he's trash. We agree on
think-
most things. It's just one thing.
Look, I don't think he sits around in the offseason and does nothing. I'm saying he hasn't developed his game. There's nothing he has added to his game. Like, he's the same player he was the day he walked into the league. Is he better at what he does? Yes, but he hasn't added anything. Like, if a mid-range jump shot, give me like the one-handed Hartenstein push shot. If he could do that, he could average 12, 13 points a game. Like,
Fact.
just give
I
me.
think it's a. I don't want to keep on talking about this. I've been yelling and screaming a lot. Apologize, y'all. But I think you guys are confusing a talent issue with the work issue.
So what do you think about what I said, Pete,
wait.
about the PNR? What you think I said about the PNR? And that's why he has an XL, because we don't run a lot of PNR. We do a lot of drive and kick opposed to PNRs. And that's where Clax, you know what I'm saying? He gets busy. He gets busy in the PNR.
I agree with you with that. With okay, so the offense that Jordy runs, Claxton has the ball at the free throw line, basically, right? And he's gonna do a lot of handoffs. And Claxton loves putting the ball on the floor and then doing those little baby hooks. I think he looks a lot more comfortable in a pick and roll. I don't know how you guys feel, but I think I see that.
You know what the problem is, Pete? Cam Thomas, before the season started, people were worried that he actually wouldn't fit in Coach Jordy's system. As Jordy's more of a defensive-minded guy. He wants guys that hustle, stuff like that. But Thomas actually fits the system really well. You've seen him work on the defense. He's a steals, rebounding, the offense. He fits the system more efficiently now. With Claxton, surprisingly, you bring Juwan Howard, you have Jordy, you have a great coach staff around Claxton, and you just haven't really seen him put it together like he should. So I think that's a stark contrast and why many of us have more questions on his future, because if you can't fit this system, we got to start thinking about options B and C at that point, just because Claxton has had 5 years in this league to work on these things. And it seems like he's hit his ceiling. Defensively, he knows what he wants to do, but offensively, I just don't think he's comfortable on this system right now. So why not let his value get bad now, but trade him while his value is high, because some teams do value his defensive effort that he gives you sometimes.
I wanted to pose this question to Pod just to see where we're at. I think Day'Ron Sharpe has a lot of upside, way more upside than Claxton because of the way he can shoot and rebound. Is it possible that Sharpe at the 5 and Clowney at the 4 could be your 4 and 5 combo? Is that something that we should see if it's the future, right? Like, because I don't think Claxton, like you said, is the future center of this team, and he's got a tradable contract. As we get deeper into it, is it worth exploring? Go ahead.
I think for Sean Marks's draft, just to have ultimate flexibility, and if he knows in his heart and hearts that Nick Claxton is not his future center, he should try to always test the market for him. One, and two, Sean Marks has to weigh it. I think he's more valuable in the offseason. I don't know if that answers your question, Garrett.
Yeah. But my question is more about Sharpe, right? Sharpe and Clowney together. Is that a tandem that you could see working together for 5 years down the road? Could that be our?
No, they're not good enough. Like one of them might be. I think Clowney might be a starting caliber power forward because he can shoot. He that shot is going to just get better with time, I believe, and he has nice size and nice defense. He could develop into something really a part of a winning team. The problem is I've watched this game. I know he's not better than Noah Senge. I know he's not better than Asa Newell. And those guys are going to be available in the back end of the draft where the Nets are going to be drafting. And I just think that the Nets' future in the front court,
It's going to look
the
totally
Nets' future
different.
period is in the draft. That's
That's fair enough. The other question I had, I'll open us up to Pete too, is Daron Sharp good enough defensively? Can he get after your stretch fives? Is he strong enough in the post? Is he good enough defensively to be a starting center in the NBA, or is he relegated to just a backup guy who can grab a bunch of rebounds? Pete,
I think he's good enough to be a really good backup that could rebound very well and shoot the three. I'm a firm believer in his 3-point shot, and I'd love to see where he could take it if he's on the team next year. I think he could be a really good backup. I think might be his ceiling.
Ceiling is backup. Do you agree, Pod? Is that
very good backup?
Is that your thoughts too?
Yeah, I think he's around that. In terms of what level that puts you, his problem is he's not that tall, and he's also not that fast. So you're usually one of the two.
Yeah.
And he's neither. He's strong is what he is. He has natural strength. He rebounds. It's just that's not good enough in this NBA. And they're playing 5 out now. You know what I mean? And to have one guy that can't shoot, much less 2 guys that can't shoot.
You don't believe in his shot time?
You don't believe in it? Yeah, that was like you don't believe that he can shoot well enough.
No, I don't think that develops into a functional 3-point shot. And I just think he just gives up so much on defense. Like, you want your center to be good on defense first. A center could completely discombobulate an offense. A defense if they're not good. They could just attack you. So first and foremost, most NBA teams want their centers to play defense and rebound. And he has the rebounding part. I just don't like these bigger guys are just gonna, take advantage. And then the guys who can shoot, like the Senguns of the world, we've seen it. Like, he's not good at chasing guys out on the perimeter. And there's like 4 centers I can think of right now that he would have to, which basically just, makes him not valid. And he could be that good on defense, and that would have been fine if he was that great on offense, like a Derek Queen. Derek Queen is so good on offense that you're thinking like, I hope his defense develops. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could see him still playing because he just does so many things.
Let me get John and Breezy in here too. I mean, Pete and Pod both think that his ceiling is backup center. He's a backup 5. I'm undecided. Like, I think there may be potential for him to be a starting center in this league. You guys agree that he's a 5? That he's a backup 5, or do you think there's potential where he can be a starter? Breezy, John, I'll open up the question to both of you.
Yeah, Gary, Daron Sharp is Andre Drummond with a 3-point shot. That's his ceiling right now. I really like the effort he showed last year, career highs and everything. I think you need an elite backup center, and I think Daron could be that for you. His rebounding for the second unit is so important. Let's remember, rebounding has been one of our Achilles heels for years. And Claxton, even though he's 30th in rebounding, if he's facing an oversized center, he gets outbeat a lot on that side of the game. With Daron in the second unit, he beats a lot of the other team's backup centers just because he's worked on his game, added muscle, and he's a great rebounder for us. We need that as a building piece. And if we were lucky enough to pair our other picks in next year's draft to get a Derek Queen, imagine having Queen and Daron as your center and backup center. The Nets would be great with rebounding for the whole season. So if you want to reset your centership by get rid of Claxton and re-sign Daron and get Derek Queen, that's a great strategy for us. And let's remember, too, if you're planning for 2026 getting Claxton's defense off this team will probably give us a great shot of being in the bottom 5 again for a top pick. So there's a game within a game with trading Claxton right now. And with Day'Ron, I definitely see a ceiling as an Andre Drummond with 3-point shot just because he's such a good rebounder, and we need that going forward as we're building the pieces to this puzzle.
Pod was saying he doesn't really think his three is ever going to be a threat to his game, right? He might be able to hit a couple of them, but it's not really, you know what I'm saying? You don't have to jump out after him and contest that, is the feeling I got from Pod. Breezy, I know you got to run soon, so let me get your thoughts on the Day'Ron Sharpe thing before you got to run.
Nah, I disagree with PT on that. I agree with a lot of things that PT said. I've even changed my opinion because of PT numerous times. Shout out to PT. But I gotta agree with John on this. I think that the 3-ball will develop into something consistent. I heard Day'Ron bragging about how he had a good 3-point shot last season, and I was against it then. And I was like, nah, hell no, bro. You the best rebounder. We can't have you at the 3-point line. Yada yada yada. But seeing him say all of that last season and then take it with confidence, take the 3-point shot this season with confidence, it leads me to believe with us prioritizing player development, you keep a Day'Ron Sharpe. Now, I don't know if he should start or come off the bench, but I do need him to play 30 minutes. I need Day'Ron Sharpe out there for 28 to 30 minutes a game. And let's not forget, on the rebounding side, how vital offensive rebounding is. Now, I don't know if this is a thing of the past or is it a now thing, but what I've learned is rebounding is different from what it is back then, in the sense where big men have become more, cognizant that they don't necessarily have to always grab the rebound. They could just tap it out to the 3-point line, and you know what I'm saying, one of their teammates could get the ball. I know that doesn't go in the books as a rebound, but it is a skill I could see him developing, and just naturally him being strong and being a rebounder the way he is. And to John's point, rebounding hurting us so many seasons, not having it, being in the latter 20s, the mid 20s out of 30 teams, it hurt to see somebody like Day'Ron Sharpe. For us to draft him at 29, yeah, I'm definitely keeping him because, one, it don't hurt the contract. It don't hurt the cap space. I mean, at max, whatever his max he could get, give it to him. I need him part of the roster. I think he will be essential. You know what I'm saying? In the second unit, I don't necessarily want him to start. I prefer him in the second unit. But if he start. You know what I'm saying? So to answer your question, yes, I would keep him. I would sign him. I wouldn't necessarily start him, but I would give him big minutes for sure.
The next question I wanted to get to, since we're already on him, is Sharpe. Sharpe's name has been mentioned as a throw-in piece, with Dorian Finney-Smith or with other guys as a trade piece. He is a premier rebounder. When you look at him statistically, like rebound percentage, rebound per minute, he's always near the top of the league. Is Day'Ron Sharpe on the trading block as a secondary piece, thrown in with someone else? Pete, I'll start with you.
I think everyone is available for the right price. I don't see him being moved, but I would not be shocked. I don't think his value is anything more than a second rounder because he is going to be a restricted free agent at the end of the year. But yeah, I think he gets the qualifying offer, and we see him back on the team next year.
That would be ideal to me, a qualifying offer. I would extend him. If he would, do you think he would take, let's say, a 2-year, $19 million contract?
He's been hurt, maybe. Who knows?
I would offer him something like that. John, how about you? Are you open to trading him? I'm pretty much not, because I think you're not going to get fair market value for him. Would you be open to trading Day'Ron Sharpe? Do you think? Would you be open to trading Sharpe as a throw-in piece, as a secondary piece to trading Cam Johnson or Dorian Finney-Smith?
Like I told you, there's 2 plans. We have plan A, which is keep Day'Ron, trade Claxton, but unfortunately, we have to prepare ourselves for this. Plan B, unfortunately, might be you have to trade Day'Ron with the Johnson or Doe, because you look at it, Day'Ron actually does have a market. There are a lot of teams that need backup centers. If a team like the Lakers are actually willing to give you decent draft capital for Cam Johnson, you add Day'Ron, he becomes a reliable backup, because their backup, and especially backup center on Lakers, is pretty atrocious. Memphis, they need a backup center with Edey. So if you pair Doe or Johnson with Daron, you're probably going to get some extra draft capital there. So there is unfortunately a market for Daron Sharp. But like you said, if we could trade Claxton to a team that actually wants him as a starter potentially, you keep Daron at that point. But if Marks is like, oh, I want to keep Claxton because I still want to build around him, then unfortunately you have to put Daron with the Johnson and Doe, especially if Marks wants some extra draft capital. So it's really going to come down to plan A or plan B. We want plan A, but unfortunately, as Sean Marks is sometimes, he might just go with plan B.
Pod, how about you? Would you be open to the idea of moving Daron for a reasonable trade, right? Like, I understand if San Antonio said, we really want Daron Sharp and we'll give you Wemby. Obviously, you'd make the trade, right? But
Yeah.
realistically, is there a trade? Would you be open to trading Daron Sharp?
No, I don't see any logic in trading him. They just got to communicate with him and let him know, like, look, we may draft the center. We want you to be a part of the team. This is where we project you out as to be our number 2, but you can compete for the role next year. Because you're not going to get his value back. Statistically, metrics-wise, he was one of the best rebounders per minute in the NBA last year, and one of the best offensive rebounders.
Third.
He's a good player that has a specific role. As long as you're not planning on starting him, I think he's fine. I think he could be a big part of what we're doing. It has to be understood that the Nets' future center is in the draft, whether it be this year or next year. But it's not on the roster.
Well, Adar brought up the elephant in the room. Front office will be drafting young talent to trade for Giannis and Zion. I was going to close with that. Trading for your superstar. Giannis, who is not old, but he's not young anymore either. And Zion, who barely ever plays. Who wants to start this? Would you guys trade for Giannis? Would you entertain kind of curbing the rebuild and trading your young talent, possibly Cam Thomas, to get Giannis? Who wants to start? This is going to open up Pandora's box, but go ahead.
You guys want me to go first
Breezy
on this
gotta
one?
kick that off.
Breezy left. Breezy had to leave.
Yeah.
Go, John.
Okay.
All right, listen.
You were smart to wait for the Cam Thomas thing now.
Listen, it's always exciting when stars want your team, especially when you're rebuilding. But I ultimately believe the best route, right? 2025, of course. 2026, yes, especially since we want to get some picks for that draft. But again, if Giannis asks out and he has Brooklyn Nets as one of his destinations, and Sean Marks, who apparently has liked Giannis for a while, and that report from Brian Lewis on the New York Post where Giannis is Brooklyn's white whale and they're waiting on him. Like, if he asks out next summer, that's a whole can of worms, Pandora's box all in one. And if Brooklyn, who has the second or first assets with OKC, wants them, there's obviously a 2-team bidding war right there. But we don't have to do it. You'd actually hope OKC does that, and then we have the most assets in the league, and we can get any star after that once our timeline adds up. So I don't think we should do it right now. But if Giannis asks out and he does, Sean Marks will make an offer. I know he's not just going to sit by and let Giannis go to another team, especially if he covets him.
John, everybody in the league and everyone in the OKC front office knows that they can't sign free agents. No NBA player goes to OKC on purpose. They end up there. It's always good. They're winning. But think about it. They had a big 3. Harden, KD, and Russ. All of them left.
Right. Well, that's the unfortunate quandary we find ourselves in. We're gonna have $80 to $100 million of cap space potentially. We got the most draft capital in the East, and Miami, who was another destination Giannis mentioned. They're trying to get off Jimmy Butler, and then you're just left with Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo. I don't think that was something Giannis would be happy with. So it's almost like you want to rebuild, right? You want 25, 26, and then think about big moves. But Giannis is like that one guy that can potentially speed it up. So it really comes down to, what does Marks do? Will he stick to his guns and do this the right way, or will he go back into his bag of tricks? But Giannis is a rare superstar talent, so I can't be 100% upset. I'll be maybe 50, 60% because if we miss out the 26th draft for Giannis, that could potentially be a mistake, or it could be what propels us to a title. So it really comes down to what Marks does next summer if he asks out. It really does.
John, they could have potentially just Cam Thomas, whatever he signs for,
Mm-hmm.
and they're gonna let the market basically dictate what Cam Thomas gets.
Right.
But they could basically have just his money on the books with a bunch of rookies' salaries. Now later, that's gonna come to bite them in the ass. Like when you draft a lot of
Mm-hmm.
picks in the first round, and then you gotta pay them all. It hurts later on. I hope they have a plan for that. But nonetheless, they can have no cap space, like basically be paying nobody any significant amount of money because they traded Cam Johnson, they traded DFS, they got off of Schroeder's money already, and 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 they might trade Nick Claxton, whether it be at this trade deadline or in the offseason. They can they could sign two superstars, which is
Yeah.
something that the NBA has been trying to stop. But they could sign two superstars and have all this young bouncy talent around them. That could be incredible. That could be incredible. It just all
It,
has
it,
to
it,
fall together.
it could
That's
be
the vision.
incredible, but does it work for our timeline? Because we actually have a chance to do this right for 2 years and then go back to star hunting. But with Marks, you can never fully trust him because we went for James Harden as soon as he was available and gave 7 unprotected picks. Giannis, who I think is a caliber a bit above James Harden right now, that's a guy that you probably would be willing to give a decent haul to because he's a rare superstar, Superman in this league. What he's doing right now in the Bucks is phenomenal. He could have easily lied down dead and said, trade me, trade me, trade me. But Giannis is like that guy that will go down swinging. And I respect that from a guy like him because he could have obviously said, you know what? The talent sucks on this team. It really does. Chris Middleton, Brooke Lopez, Damian Lillard. Listen, Lillard should not be getting 60
But
million, man.
but
The
it's
guy does
his
nothing
fault though.
besides offense. But
He
Giannis
picked
is
a lot of
carrying
those
that
players,
team
John.
right
He
now, what he's doing.
he picked those players, John. A lot of the roster moves is his fault.
He still won a title for them, and he won without a Kevin Durant, Stephen Curry, LeBron James, and I got to give
But
Giannis some
still,
credit
the
there because
boat
if
that
he,
he's
he
in right
controlled the
now
team, like you
is
said, Pot,
because of
those
him.
guys could have been there with him. Whereas another star could have been with him, but you know what? He actually showed he just needs quality role players around him to win a title. Maybe that's what he's thinking with Brooklyn. If you get an Ace or Harper, 2 guys he trained this past summer, maybe he's thinking I could take one of those guys to the next level with me. Like you never know. It's really going to come down to who we draft next year. I think that will determine what our timeline really is with stars, role players, and all that. It really depends on the draft.
Let me ask you this. Let me put this question out there. Is anyone in favor? Would anyone consider putting a hefty package together to trade for Zion despite all of the injuries and him being fat and all of the warts that come with Zion? Would anyone be opening to multiple first-round picks, Claxton, whoever else, to bring in Zion?
How about we start with Pete? Because you start with me. Pete, we'll start with
Yeah,
you.
we haven't
Building
got
my
from
pod.
Pete. We haven't heard from Pete in a minute.
I didn't get to talk about Giannis, so I'm just gonna jump in over
Oh,
here.
you want to get it on Giannis too? Get it on
Please talk
Giannis.
about
Yeah,
Giannis.
So,
I want to
I'll
hear
be
your
quick.
opinion.
I'll be quick with it. 2 things very quickly. He's getting older, and his game is built around athleticism. That athleticism over time is going to take a hit. I don't think he could shoot the shots from the outside to keep his game alive. We'll see what happens with that. But the most important part, listen to me with this. You have CT now, young guy. Let's say we re-sign him after next season, okay? 5 years down the line, he's still in that. He'll be under contract, making whatever number. You have a 2025 pick. Let's say a Dylan Harper, okay, Ace Bailey, making a very cheap contract for 4 years. Let's fast forward to 2027. That's going to be CT's 3rd year, the rookie's 3rd year. The rookie has a couple years under his belt. You add a superstar then, and you've been building a roster around that. Imagine a Dylan Harper, let's say all-star Dylan Harper, CT putting up, possibly 20 points a game, and then a superstar. That's a nice little team. Maybe you have Clowney there, who's going to be 3 years older, stronger, better 3-point shooting, right? Like I see the vision. Point is, I see the vision. Giannis would not. I don't see that timeline working.
Well, let me ask you this: how many good years? How many years of like peak Hall of Fame, great freak do you think we have left? I would say this and probably 4 more. What are your thoughts?
As far as who, Giannis?
Yeah, Giannis. How many great years do you think he has left in him?
He's 30 now. Man, I think he could have another like good 4 to 5 years, maybe even more. I just think you never know when you're gonna tear that ACL. You never, and when it happens, boom, that athleticism goes quick. And if your game is based around that, not everybody's LeBron James, boys. Not everybody can do it till they're 40, and that's what would worry me.
I agree that not everyone can do it till they're 40, Pete. But like he is in phenomenal shape. Like he's transformed his body. Like James, obviously he's dedicated to his fitness, like clearly. So yes, his game is predicated around athleticism. So he's not going to be able to play till he's 40 like John Stockton. I agree. But his body is a specimen. Like I think he can be able to play well into his mid-30s. You know what I'm saying? So I think we got years left in Giannis at a really high level.
He might be that star, but to go with a Dylan Harper and CT, right? You get 2 good shooters around him. That would help a lot. Clowney, another good shooter around him. Like he could, like I said, he could be that star. I would not overpay. If you're going to trade for him, you're going to have to give up a lot of assets. And then whenever, I don't know what his contract looks like, but I'm sure it's a high number. And then when he does become a free agent, it's like you're paying almost like twice for him. I don't know what his contract looks like. Maybe he's wrapped up for 5 years. You guys could tell me, but yeah, I don't like. I don't know. I just don't like it. There's something that bothers me. I'm not sure why. I could be wrong though. I'm willing to be wrong. I'm open.
No, Pete,
So-
you're being very accurate now.
Let me the contract numbers. He makes 54 million next year, 58 million in 26-27, and a $63 million option in 27-28. So
Timeline could work.
yeah.
No,
Right.
listen,
Technically.
there's pros and cons. I think with Gary, like 4 to 5 years or prime Giannis, not many teams would turn that opportunity. But to Pete said, like if you develop the next 3 years, you're probably going to go for a star after that if you have a Harper and Thomas, which probably is a better timeline for as far as building all the pieces the right way. Because if you just jump into it a year or two after, there's more cause for concern. Because when we got KD, Kyrie, and James, on paper, that 3 was supposed to win the title, but it didn't because of injuries, lack of chemistry, stuff like that. And it's like with Giannis, yes, he's a one-man wrecking ball, but if he gets an injury or something and loses athleticism, outside shooting is not going to help him. He has a little mid-range shot, but he rarely does it. He always likes to go, bully to the ball to the rim. So it's like there's a lot of risk there. But I'll tell you this, if Giannis goes to Brooklyn, a second star will follow because many stars would like to play with a Giannis. But at the same time, there's risk there too because what's your bench going to look like? If you have 2 max guys under contract, the new CBA, if you're over that apron, you better be ready to win a damn title because if not, you suffer the worst financial penalties. And a team like Brooklyn, with the money we make and all that, like you don't want to be in the penalty and not winning a title. So you probably have like a 3-year timeline at most to win a title. Is it worth it right now? I don't think so. But at the end of the day, you don't turn down Giannis if he wants to come to your team. But we'll see what happens.
Look at Gary. One quick very thing. I think Johnny made a very good point with the CBA. Look at a team like the Nuggets. You have an MVP in the middle, right? You got Jamal Murray. You got good players around them. But all of a sudden, because of the CBA, because you're paying these guys at certain numbers, you're not a complete team like you were when you won a championship. And
Right.
It makes you think, do you want a second star? And you have to take advantage when you have a Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey on his rookie contract, and CT on that first extension. That is the time to build. That's the time to strike.
Right, very true. And you look at the Nuggets bench; it's just full of young guys in Westbrook. They had Bruce Brown and Jeff Green, and they had KCP, and they let all 3 of those guys go. And their team is just so atrocious. The fact that Nikola had that big game against the Wizards, and the Wizards actually beat them, like their team is going to break up in a year or two if they can't hold down the fort. And I think that's also to Brooklyn's benefit. A lot of these teams that are competing right now, they're going to break up their cores sooner than later, and Brooklyn will have cap space, draft assets, and develop talent to go all in to win a title. middle. It's just Marks has to get the timing right. If he does it too soon or too late, we're screwed. So it's like the perfect middle tier level you got to hit on this. And I think we can do it. It's just, will Marks work on his mistakes and not screw us over again by doing it too late or too soon?
No, look, the team that he built previously, not whether it be really him that made it or just the fact that these 2 or 3 stars wanted to play together, had nothing to do with him or anything else. They wanted to play together, and he had the resources to allow them to play together. But you still have to give him credit for building that team. That team was a championship team. Fucked up shit happened. It didn't come together. Whatever, fine. I don't worry about it, because what I'm looking for is very, very clear and evident. I will know if you did your job or not in terms of Sean Marks. If you have foundational players in a draft that last year this time you did not have those picks, then I have to give you credit. You got your picks back, and if you turn that pick that you got back into Ace Bailey, I got no, what can any of us say about Sean Marks then, right? But I say that to say and to answer the question like this. Much of this stuff you can't answer going into the future. A lot of it is, basically saying, oh, we're going to get this person or we're going to do that or so on and so forth. We don't know, but we got to play for it to be like a high likelihood. I just think that's the only way we could play it.
Let me bring BK in. BK, we're talking about potentially trading for Giannis. Perhaps Cam Thomas, perhaps multiple first-round picks. What are your thoughts on
Only if you can assemble a championship roster quickly in the first couple of years of him being there. Other than that, it doesn't make any sense. I would take my chances in the draft. But then again, we're not guaranteed an Ace Bailey or Cooper Flag or Dylan Harper. That's the thing, too. So it's a dicey situation, man. I mean, Giannis would definitely look good. I mean, I think all our podcasters would be doing well if Giannis actually would come here. But like, do we match up to Cleveland? We gotta put talent, man. Championships are won by teams, not just by individual players. You need high-end role players that are not scared of the moment, and these role players got to understand their roles and not try to do too much. I mean, it's a lot. Like I said, Boston. When I was talking about what I was saying on my show last night, I mean, it took Boston 10 years staying there just to get the right pieces, and yeah, man, it's just I wouldn't trade for Giannis though. I don't know. It's tough. It's dicey.
If you don't believe in your program, you trade for Giannis. If you believe in your program, if you believe in the stuff that and the stuff that you're always talking about, oh, we develop players, oh, we've got all the coaching. We've got the largest coaching staff in the NBA. The most
Right.
Listen, nobody can force these guys to work on their ball handling, work on their shooting, work on their free throws, right? Nobody can force these guys to do that. They have to get better on their own, man. I mean, Paul Thorne, you played basketball, right? I mean, you got good at it. You didn't need any coaching or anything like that. You just, you can go this on tutorials. You can go learn and be a better ball handler, be a better shooter, be a better free throw shooter. So you got to get guys that want to do that. Nobody can force Ben Simmons to get a jump shot.
But BK, you don't think Jordy's done a good job actually developing these guys? Dariq Whitehead, Tyrese Martin, Jalen Wilson.
We don't know yet, man. We don't know yet.
He had the toughest training camp in Brooklyn history, possibly. Everybody's talking about it. Like they never done stuff. Remember Steve Nash? He never did no training. KD's like, I wish we'd actually train more as a team. When a superstar says we wish we trained more, there was something wrong with that coach staff.
Right, that's understanding like issue. That's defining roles, right? And like learning plays and things like that, learning schemes, but I'm talking about like if you have a weakness, like Ben Simmons has a weakness. There's certain games that Ben Simmons can dominate, right? If he's healthy, and then there's certain games he's not going to be able to dominate. He's not going to look good against Giannis. Giannis is a really excellent defender. That's why he needs to go out there and learn how to shoot the damn basketball. Right?
Simmons has to learn after 8 years how to shoot the basketball. He just
No,
doesn't
that's
want
what
to
I'm
do it.
saying. That's my point, though. You can have all the development in the world or try to. I mean, you can't force Ben Simmons to shoot if he doesn't want to go learn how to shoot.
Then why is he playing in the NBA?
Let me bring this back to Zion real quick, right? Because we really didn't get to Zion. I'm guessing
Right,
you guys
right.
don't want Giannis. Zion's much younger, but there's a lot of other warts and things that go on with Zion, his weight, his injury. I'm not feeling like myself, so I'm not going to play in an elimination game. Pete, what would be your thoughts on trading for Zion? Is that just out? Like, we never really got an answer to that. Was that out? Are we done out on Zion?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, it depends what the deal would look like. Like, if they want to give him to us for free, you know what I mean? Like in a
pennies on a dollar, not free though. Pennies on a dollar.
You know what I mean. You know what I mean. Like, it's a must-do deal, of course, but I don't think that's the option I would do.
What if I said, give me your 2026 pick, a 2030 pick, one of the 2020, like Milwaukee's 2025 pick? And
No way. No
Okay.
way.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Gary.
So me personally, I don't like Zion's weight in today's NBA. Today's NBA is mainly like a lot of perimeter 3-point shooting, right? Even at a lot of power forwards at his positions, a lot of fives, and definitely the future centers that are actually coming in. It's a lot of wear and tear on his body just to have him go out there and play on the perimeter, man. This was like 30 years ago. And there wasn't the game wasn't so much perimeter based, yeah, but not today's NBA. Same thing with Joel Embiid too. It's another one.
So everyone is out on Zion. I'm in on Giannis. Here's my question about Giannis, and I'll get back to Zion real quick. If I promised you 4 more years of peak Zion, of peak Giannis, I mean, like top notch Giannis, and I put him in the NBA draft, where would he go? Where would he be drafted? He'd be taking 1, right?
If you could guarantee how many years?
Guarantee 4 more years of peak Giannis.
Listen, Gary. You want to get 9 to 10 years. You want what the Boston Celtics have, courtesy of us. But you want to have.
It's going to take you 3 or 4 years to get them to that level, right? Like Jason Tatum was very good day 1, but he wasn't this Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown took time. Jaylen Brown got better year over year.
How fun do you, especially now knowing that they've won a championship with those guys and they're still dominating right now? Like, how great is it that the fan base was able to go on a journey of these young guys getting better, and then for them to win a championship at 26, 27 years old, and knowing that for the next 5 years after that, they're gonna still be competing for championships. Like that's the dream. I think. No.
For sure. Like, yeah, not just to win a championship, but to be good for an era, to be good for a generation,
to be relevant. Like we've changed the team every 3 years in the Brooklyn era. We've had completely different identities on 3 different occasions in 10 years. That's insane.
We're like a spin cycle. We're like a spin cycle team. Wash, rinse, repeat. Wash, rinse, repeat. That's not good for Brooklyn culture. It really isn't.
So the thing with Giannis is that you have to construct a certain type of roster around him. Like, he's not really good off ball, man. You know what I'm saying? Jason Tatum can play off the ball, and on the ball. Like, an excellent catch and shoot 3-point shooter. Giannis is not that. If he doesn't have the ball in his hands, and you put if he had like Kevin Durant skills, like KD type skills, then I would say, yeah, you can construct like a lot of different pieces around Giannis, but you have to build the team the right way, man. Like him and Dame don't fit together. Dame needs the ball.
The type of team that you could build with Giannis is one of those disposable 3 to 4 year teams. The moment, it's not even that he loses a lot. If he loses a fraction of a step, his game is over. This is the wrong time to be investing in a player like Giannis, especially when you have the opportunity to draft your guy, and if you don't get that right, you have all all the cap
Well,
space in the world.
Pathon is not guaranteed that the Nets are going to get a 1 through 3 pick. It's not definitive, man. It's not.
It doesn't. It
Gary,
doesn't matter.
Gary.
They put themselves in the
But
position
you
to
really
do
didn't.
it.
You didn't really. Let me
and go
ask the
from there.
question again. Like if Giannis, if I promise you 4 more years of peak Giannis, and I put him in the NBA draft, where would he go? I'm still saying he goes number 1. Like he's that dominant of a player.
No, nobody's saying that. You got to put.
One.
It's a team sport, Gary. You got to put the right pieces around Giannis. It takes time.
That goes for no matter who you draft, though, right? That goes for Ace Bailey. That goes for Cooper Flagg.
Yeah.
I already know that Giannis and a bunch of role players, good role players, Drew Holiday, super role players, Chris Middleton. I know that can win me a championship. How do I?
You got to get those guys on the team, though, man. You got to find them and get them. They're not easy.
But that goes for everyone. That goes for no matter who you get. Like that doesn't. That's not specifically. It's not like building around Iverson, right? Like Philly had to do this really Knicks thing of like old Giannis. Just get a bunch of shooters and get some ball handlers, get some good defense. It's a lot easier to build around a guy like Giannis.
If it was that easy, I think they'd be.
Exactly.
Right now.
Excellent point, Pathon. Excellent point.
They have no draft assets and they're in tax hell, so they lost their advantages and they won a title. That they had the advantages and they won a title, then they lost them. So it's not. I'm not putting on the honest. It's on the team around them that hasn't held their end of the bargain.
You keep.
I'm a cut out. If you guys are still on in half an hour, I'll be back.
I gotta end this.
Yeah, we're about to wrap this up.
All right. I gotta wrap this up.
Yeah,
I'm gonna re-listen to
BK,
it.
where can everyone find you, real quick?
BKNY Hoops on YouTube there and on my Twitter. So X. I think they call it X now. Yeah. Yeah.
Appreciate you, BK.
I don't.
All right.
I call it Twitter.
No problem.
I gotta wrap this up. Let me give everyone a last word and a little commercial. Pa, we'll start with you. Your last thoughts on this trade season, and then tell them where they can find you.
An important tidbit about this trade season. Milton is likely going to try. They're going to try to include him in the next trade, but in order to do so, they've got to get it done by Monday. So be on the lookout, everybody, for something to happen very quickly, so that they can move Milton on. Now, if they're able to do it or not, I don't know, but that was something I was thinking about, and I saw somebody else talk about it on Twitter. If it happens, it happens. But if I don't see what they need Milton for, not especially if the tanking trajectory that they're on, and he's injured, so I think he might be moved on into the next trade, even if it's just for the money and matching salaries. But if that happens, then it's gonna happen fast, and so expect something to happen soon. I'm Pathon at Pathon on Twitter, and I love to be on my guys' YouTube shows. Like, doesn't matter, they were on this show. But thanks to the big homie, thanks to the big homie Gary for letting me on.
Appreciate you, appreciate you, and come on whenever you want, Pod. Love having you on. John, everything.
You best, Gary. Thank you.
Appreciate you, Pod. John, same thing for you. Last thoughts on this trade season, and tell them where they can find you.
First, I just want to say thanks, Gary. You and I planned this big trade deadline special like a week or two ago, and I'm glad we could do it. We also got to break some breaking news yesterday on the show, so I think this was a very fun weekend, man. I'm definitely gonna remember it for a while. But and Pod, Pete, Breezy, BK, always fun talking fun basketball with you. To people that want to talk fun basketball with me, you can find me on my Twitter at OS91413John. I've done work on the BKNY Hoop Show, Dylan's BK Network Pod, Breezy's podcast, and Gary's Nothing But Nets, but I am everything BK Nets John. You know what? Trade deadline has started. The Dennis Schroeder move was so incremental because it accomplished many different goals. Got us a little bit of the tax line. We got draft assets. We got some cap space, and we positionally now will put ourselves low down in the standings, potentially get a top 3 draft pick. This deal, if we look back on it after next year's draft and we get exactly what we want, this is going to be a game-changing trade for Brooklyn that needed to happen. So you look at the Does and the Johnsons, moves will happen, and it'll be interesting to see how these other teams construct deals, because under new CBA, some teams want to do these really tricky deals, and like Pete said, you might have to get a third team involved in a lot of these deals. I think that's Brooklyn's best opportunity with Johnson and Doe if they want to get as much assets as possible to be a third team in a lot of scenarios. So it'll be interesting to see as the weeks go by who we get, but I'm excited. It's time for us to do business and get our top 3 draft pick. Let's go, Brooklyn.
Pete, close us out. Tell us everyone where they can find you, and give me your closing thoughts here on this trade season.
Yeah, I'm expecting Dorian Finney-Smith to be moved for 2 to 3 second rounders, something similar to the Schroeder deal. Anything after that is gravy. We'll see what happens. We got to see what's going to happen with Bogey. Is he going to come back in time to play? And maybe we could squeeze out a second rounder. Does he get bought out? We'll see what happens. I have an episode out with Colin Helwig of Nets Daily and the Brooklyn Pod with Anthony Puccio, talking a lot of trade stuff. There's a new episode coming out tomorrow with Gary from Nothing But Nets, talking about the Dennis Schroeder trade.
Wow.
And you can find me at NetFans, on YouTube and Twitter. And yeah, if you like this stuff, me and Gary got an episode coming out tomorrow, like I just said.
That's so dope.
That's awesome.
Appreciate you guys. If Cam Johnson and Dorian Finney-Smith are not traded by the deadline, Sean Marks, that's a fireable offense and an unmitigated failure. So make sure those guys are traded. It's December 15th, 2024, from Texas to the world. Thank you, and God bless.
Peace.
Peace, guys.